Top 5 intermittent fasting mistakes. What's going on, guys? Ryan Engel coming at you. This is a live feed. This is a coach's corner. This is something new that I'm going to be doing where we dive in and just take on issues, have a good time with it. It is live, so something might go wrong. That's worth watching, right? So don't kill me if I misspeak here or any of that. Real quick, what the topic at hand for this episode is. It's intermittent fasting. All right, we're going to get into the top 5 mistakes, and it's going to allow me to really go a little bit deeper into some core things that you might be doing wrong, and maybe this will help you out. Now, if you've never tried intermittent fasting, what's the benefit? Why would you want to do that? I'll tell you flat out. There's a ton of genetic benefits. There's a ton of science benefits. But what I want to focus right now on is the structure. The overall structure of intermittent fasting, it helps you structure your day better, but also the principle, right? The principle of focus. So I intermittent fast for the mental abilities of it, right? I don't like eating a huge meal and then jumping into work or jumping into a project. Plus, it allows me to stay on my game when it comes to my nutrition, right? It puts it at the top of mind. And having something at the top of mind is one of the best things you can do when you want to prioritize something. So when it comes to your fitness, your training, body goals, whatever it is, priority, right? This is going to be your priority. So it puts it top of mind. So let's dive into these top 5 mistakes, and this will give us some really good topic points. Any comments, anything you have here, drop them in here. I'll be getting back to everything I see if I can figure out how to work this. But either way, listen, we're gonna take it by storm. We're gonna have a good time with this. So let's jump right in. All right, the first one is the binge eating element. Okay, now I had a friend who said, "Listen, I love intermittent fasting, man, but I'm not getting any results. I'm literally getting nothing off of it. My body's not changing, nothing's happening." And we know that nutrition is going to be the biggest core element to drive any form of change, right? So if nutrition is the core element to drive any form of change, well, if you're not following a nutrition program, you're obviously not getting anywhere. And if you do start following a nutrition program, you should expect results. You should expect to see results. If you don't see results within a 2-week window, go back to the drawing board, look at your nutrition, and change some things around. So he tells me, "Listen, I'm not getting anything done," right? This is one of my best buds. He's like, "Listen, can you teach me a little bit about it?" I'm like, "Well, hold on, just go through what you're doing." He's like, "All right, look, I wait till it's time to eat. Noon rolls around, I eat whatever the hell I want." All right, he's a firefighter, so you know how they do in the firefighter world. They got tons of different food, always going. So he's like, "I just eat whatever I want." You can't binge. All right, it's essential that when you break your fast with a very specific macro breakdown, which I'm going to get into right here. The macro breakdown you want to go for. Let me get this. This thing is a little bright, so I'm trying to fix it up. All right, macro breakdown. Here's my exact meal. 5 eggs, all right, full yolks, a whole grain English muffin, right? And then also any sort of healthy fat that I want to break that with. So I can have coconut oil, I can have almonds if I'm on the go, but you want to have a very balanced first meal when you break into that. Regarding your training, by the way, this is a little tip I want to throw out here, okay? Regarding your training. So if you're running a training of any kind, right? And we'll go on stints where we're not doing much, but if you can position your training so that you break your fast right outside of your training. So like you would work out, let's say you're going to break your fast at noon, you would actually work out at like 11:30. So then boom, you roll right into that first meal. That is exceptional when it comes to fat loss and muscle building. Exceptional, right? But now we don't always have the ability to do that. Schedules get crazy, so you can't always rely on that, but that will be optimal. So second down the line, you can always train in the morning and then just still eat at your normal eating window, which is noon, right? So if you want to train at 6 a.m., whatever, you're good to go there. So when you break into that first meal, that first window, remember, you want this to be a high, other than keto. If you're doing keto, that's going to be a whole different conversation. But if you're running like a low carb or a maintenance, whether you're running a muscle building or even a lean mass build, whatever you're doing, a fat loss build, that first meal is really important. So there's macronutrients, right? You want to have high protein, a complex carb, that's where the English muffin comes in, and then you want to have a healthy fat, right? Boom, that's meal 1. Awesome breakdown. One small caveat, if you do the training and then roll into that first meal, postpone the healthy fat to later. You do not want to have your healthy fat that close to a post-workout window, okay? Just a little tip. Next big thing is, so remember, to avoid the binge, always go for that macro breakdown. And that's another big thing. Like if you're trying to avoid that binge, when you have that first meal, you're going to set the tone. Remember, this is principle and this is mindset. So you're setting the tone for the rest of your day. That's my first meal. That's a very high protein meal. My energy's high. I don't have to rely on a loaded up Starbucks coffee or anything like that, or like a Bang energy drink or something, right? I'm trying to avoid stims, okay? So remember, like caffeine, that's a stimulant that you're introducing in your body. Let's get into number 2. This is not eating enough, okay? So you can go the opposite end of the spectrum where you're actually, let me put my notes right here. You're actually going the other end of the spectrum where when you are eating in a fasted window, sometimes you can do the fatal flaw of not eating enough. I see this in all different types of clients, but people that start with me and they've been doing this wrong. So you don't want to eat too low, okay? And then there's this big question. Well, how do I fit all my meals in intermittent fasting window? It's not hard. If you're eating a 16 and 8, that means you're fasting for 16 hours, you're eating within an 8-hour window. If you're doing this, that means you're putting all your meals. 8 hours is plenty of time for you to hit your macronutrient goals, right? Like for example, right now, my maintenance calories, my protein, I'm eating around 220 grams of protein. So that's maintenance for me, right? I'm right now hovering at like 210, 215. So that's just me hovering, right? So that's going to be a great maintenance range. But here's my point. It's not hard. For 3 or 4 meals, boom, I'm already in that range, right? It's not hard. Just space your time out. That way you don't have to do the crazy binge meals or anything like that. Keep a good schedule. Keep a good flow. Don't gorge yourself. It's not necessary to gorge yourself, right? And we're talking about the most effective fat loss, lean muscle building, intermittent fasting style. Real quick, let me just go back 1 second before we get into big number 3 here. I started I've always been using tactics of intermittent fasting, basis of intermittent fasting, but like when the internet kind of, started going crazy, you got a ton of people promoting it. And they're promoting it from like a gimmick style where it's like, look, this is intermittent fasting. This is going to be guaranteed to melt your fat away and everything. You can eat whatever you want. When that first came out, I looked at that and I'm like, great, intermittent fasting. Here's the next gimmick that's going to ride, right? Here's the next gimmick that's going to go all over the internet. And sure enough, it did, because people thought they could eat whatever they want. They're trying all these things. And honestly, they're trying these wildly unhealthy tactics, like postponing everything, like literally like medical style fast, where like your doctor will tell you you're doing a surgery, so don't eat for the next 2 days or whatever, right? This is not necessary, and you should not rob your body of basic macronutrients, okay? So this is basically, we're talking about this very standard 16 and 8 style. I have transformed so many clients using this. I've put out guides, put out all the works. Somewhere in the description of this link, I'll throw some stuff in here free. I've got a full tutorial that goes through exactly how to run it, but it is an incredible system. Now, again, we're talking about the mental benefits and everything else like that, but I got to throw some technical stuff at you here. Let's go number 3. This one is your fluid intake, intermittent fasting fluids. Let's cover that ground right here. There's a lot of mistakes that happen with that. I saw a question and it was, listen, can I brush my teeth? Well, I hope you do, right? Here's the thing. Go for the 15 to 20 calorie range as like a breaker, okay? If you have over 15 to 20 calories, you're not breaking your fast. Let me go to a different friend now who said that, he said, look, I'm intermittent fasting. I'm starting this out. Can you give me some guidelines? He said, I said, give me your, what are you doing? He's like, well, before I start my fast, before I start my eating window, I wake up in the morning, I have 3 bananas and I start my day and all this, right? And I said, okay, hold on a second. So you're eating 3 bananas. He's eating 3 bananas. You're totally breaking that. Your body is now going to start metabolizing that food, right? So it's pointless, okay? It's absolutely pointless. So you got to think about this aspect when it comes to it. 20 calories or more, boom, you're going to break the window. So avoid that. And honestly, this is fluid intake. This is what we're discussing right now. So when it comes to that fluid intake, black coffee would be like a great win for you. We got people that will do black tea, anything like this, but don't load it up. In fact, just a side note, and tell me if you agree with me on this. Side note, tell me if you agree with me. People say that they're addicted to caffeine, but I actually got a pumpkin spice latte. I wanted to know what I hadn't had a pumpkin spice latte. So this last season, it was the PSL season. I'm like, all right, I got to get one of these. I drank it, whatever. I felt like I was bouncing off the walls, and I'm like, whatever caffeine amount they have in this is a lot. It wasn't a lot of caffeine, right? It was pretty standard caffeine. What they had in it was a ton of sugar. I think there was like, I don't want to say it was like 200 grams of sugar. Remember, your daily intake of sugar should be under 35 grams. All right. And people wonder why that visceral fat will build. Visceral fat is visible fat. So that's like the fat pockets that you really want to get rid of, right? Like here's mine right here. We got problem areas, like you'll get them here. The fat pockets that's hard to get rid of. What you're feeling there is visceral fat. What that comes from, don't forget that fat is stored energy that's not getting used. That's what it is on the body. Stored energy not getting used. So if you have 200 grams of sugar first thing in the morning, you're addicted to that. You're bouncing off the walls here, but that energy can go nowhere, right? So it turns into visceral fat. You're basically throwing a wrench into your protocol, into your system, right? Every day. So you got to get the fluids in, and water intake is so key, especially water intake is key on anything, but when you're running intermittent fasting, make sure that your water intake you're doing at least a gallon of water. You're doing 1 gallon of water, you're going to be good. Let's move into the next big one. What's up, everybody? I see some people just joined. What's going on, guys? This is Coach's Corner. I'll be doing a new one of these once a week. It's a chance to dive in and get a little deeper with topics. We don't have to worry about edits or anything like that, right? I'm not going to be editing these. We'll have them off the cuff. They'll be good. Let's get into number 4. This one, I just touched on it. This is sugar, right? So sugar intake is really, really, really key. You want to avoid that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about cravings for a second here, right? Cravings are super, super big. Give me one quick second. I'm getting like a ton of Slack notifications. So one quick second. All right, one quick second. We're good now. I had to mute my Slack. My Slack's blowing up. So let's talk about sugar and let's talk about cravings for a second. So you may wonder why you have cravings. Now, cravings are only going to come from 2 places: physiological cravings and psychological cravings. This is one of the biggest, most misunderstood things when it comes to nutrition. So psychological cravings, we're always going to get. All right, they're harder to avoid. They're not harder to avoid. They're easier to avoid, but they're more easy to understand. So psychological cravings are when you go to the Cheesecake Factory and you walk by a Reese's cheesecake. Obviously, you want that. All right, damn thing looks good, right? Damn thing looks super good, right? So if you walk by a Reese's cheesecake, you want to eat that. That's your psychological cravings going, I want that. Now, that's easier to beat if you have your physiological cravings in check. So this is the big thing to focus on, right? Your physiological cravings are your macros not balanced. So if you get to 7 o'clock, and this is why cravings hit so hard, if you get to 7 o'clock and your macronutrients aren't at least hit, the basics aren't met, that means your protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. If those are not hit, those basics are not met, what your body's going to do is it's going to say, I don't have energy. Give me energy, right? I need energy. So what's the quickest source of energy? We just talked about that. Carbohydrates, especially simple carbs. This is why you want to order DoorDash at 7 o'clock. Now, if you meet the macronutrients, your physiological, you're met there. All right, you can put a check by that. So here's the biggest thing. After that, you're going to be good and you're only going to have to face psychological cravings. So why people get caught up with cravings especially is they get completely stuck when it comes to, listen, how are you going to beat a psychological craving if you're also feeling a physiological craving? So when you walk by the cheesecake or you open up your DoorDash or you're getting like pummeled with ads to your favorite pizza place and you're like, I got to order this. Jets is mine, by the way. Jets pizza is crazy good, right? But if you look at this, how are you supposed to avoid that if your macronutrients aren't met? So this is one of the most sheer basic levels to understanding cravings and fat loss and energy balance. Let's jump straight into, so high sugars. Let me tie off that point real quick. So beating sugar's one of those bigger things, right? And this is the thing, I can throw it out here and make perfect sense to you, but it's not going to be one of those things that you just go, all right, I'm good. I get it. Like Ryan said, I can beat this by making my physiological needs met and following intermittent fasting. It's a day-to-day thing. You're going to have to go through a day-to-day battle with removing that, which is why I like cold turkey methods, like going completely into, give me 1 second. I'm getting notifications on something now. Okay, cool. All right. So when it comes to balancing the macronutrients, right? This is one of the biggest keys. Macronutrients, one of the biggest keys. So, and by the way, we'll do a full feed on breaking down macros. We'll break out the whiteboard. I'll find out how to do I want to do a drawing board, like with the camera pointed at it. That'd be awesome so we can explain macros. But when it comes to that avoidance of sugar, it's one of those things where I like you to look at things over a 3-day period. So if you say, I want to remove my sugars, I really want to take a hard shot at this, I want to take a try at this, and you remove your sugars, one of the biggest things you got to do is look at it as a 3-day window. Look at it as 72 hours. So the first day you start, you'll do one bad meal. And that bad meal might not be like a huge bad meal, but you might do a very small bad meal. What you're going to want to do is set it up so that by that 3rd day, now you've completely gone. Your sugars are down to 35 grams, maybe 40 grams. You're feeling good. You're feeling strong. You can let those energy impacts start to hit you, right? And this is another big thing. When you run intermittent fasting properly, you will feel the benefits from it within a pretty quick week to 7 to 10 days. You'll start feeling the impacts of intermittent fasting. Any questions, by the way, comment on. All right, let me go on number 5. Number 5 is obsessing. This is more of a really big mindset click right here, but this one also pertains specifically to people that follow intermittent fasting. They obsess over the window. So if you look at a window and you break your schedule out and you say 16 and 8 is my schedule, I'm eating in an 8-hour window. So if you're eating within an 8-hour window, this is one of the biggest things. Don't look at it and go, oh shit, like I'm 1 minute out. Can I eat? Can I do this? No, all right, don't do that to yourself, right? Your body, right? Your body, your internal clock doesn't know that it's 5:51. Okay, your body and your internal clock knows kind of where it's at. All right, some of us might be freaks and might know exactly where we're at in the mind, right, without looking at a watch. I've got a friend like that too. Here's the thing though, right? You cannot be a perfectionist, and this is just an overarching thing. Whether you're following keto, intermittent fasting, whatever it is you're following, you cannot be psychotic on trying to be a perfectionist. And I want to end this with a really, really stern point. I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. I'm going to end this with a really good point. One of the biggest keys to balance, and listen, I'm not a huge fan of like over moderation. Like if you do everything in moderation, and I will preach that from time to time when someone needs to hear it, but if you do everything in moderation, will you ever really be great at anything? Being great at something is going to take a hell of a lot of focus, right? If you're going to be a business owner, you're going to be good at your job, you're going to be really good at your career, you're going to be great at your career path, you want to be really good, you want to have an elite physique, right? One of the top physiques. If you want to get into that period, you cannot be, or into that frame, you'll never be a moderation. But this is what I want to leave you with here. Don't try to be a perfectionist. I saw somebody said, thank you for being here. If you look at your mindset moving forward, try this framework, this mental framework. I call it the 90% framework. So if you're getting graded as a kid, right, as a student, right, if you're college, whether you're in college, high school, whatever, right, your professor will grade your paper from 1 to 100%, okay, or 0 in some cases, right, if we really screw it up. So if you have 100%, you just got an absolute smash A+. All right, that means you obsessed over that. You did really, really well, right? You got a 100% slam dunk, okay? Now, what if you got an A+, or what if you, not an A+, what if you got a B+ or an A? You did 90%. Take your fitness experience and put yourself in the 90, okay? That means 9 out of 10 times you make the right call. 9 out of 10 times, your eating window is pretty damn solid, right? Your eating window is almost perfect, right? Almost perfect. You want to be almost perfect. If you try to be perfect, is why I tell people, I'll tell my clients especially, if you try to be perfect, you will end up falling into a very dangerous place with a perfectionist mindset on your fitness when you're trying to do other stuff too. And what that's going to do is it's going to have you obsess and overthink everything. If you find yourself overthinking everything like your eating window or your macronutrients, write down the macronutrients. Think about it this way. Fall into the 90 and you will do very, very well there. All right, I'm Ryan Engel, founder of RE Fitness. If you want to get in contact with me, shoot me a DM, shoot me a comment. Thanks so much for being here. We'll do a lot of these Coaches Corners. Functionality of this is easy to use and great. They'll keep getting better. So appreciate you being here. Tap the sub and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.